I waited silently in the darkness, clutching a baseball bat, ready for my unfaithful wife's lover to arrive. The moment he stepped out of his car, I acted without hesitation, striking mercilessly. His limbs were shattered, and his most prized possession was destroyed. He was finished, but my vengeance was far from over. It was time to confront my wife. The night's cold air seeped into my bones as I crouched behind the hedge at the edge of our driveway. The smooth handle of the baseball bat felt heavy in my hands, a reminder of the gravity of the moment. My heart pounded fiercely in my chest, a relentless drumbeat of anger and adrenaline. The world seemed frozen in time, with only the soft rustle of leaves breaking the oppressive silence. Violence had never been part of my nature. I'd built my life on logic, patience, and reason, but that was before I uncovered the truth, before the lies, the betrayal, and the intricate web of deceit spun by my wife, Elena, came to light. Tonight, reason was a distant memory. All that remained was a singular thought: justice. The crunch of tires on gravel jolted me to attention. A sleek black BMW glided into the driveway, its headlights piercing through the darkness. My grip on the bat tightened as the engine went silent and the driver's door opened. This was my moment of reckoning. 6 months ago, I would have laughed at the suggestion that Elena could betray me. We had been married for over a decade, our lives intertwined so deeply that separation seemed unimaginable. She was everything I thought I wanted: sophisticated, intelligent, and ambitious. As a senior curator at a prestigious art museum in Vienna, she mingled with the elite, navigating circles of power and refinement. I worked in finance, managing the portfolios of Europe's wealthiest clients. It was a demanding job, but one that afforded us a life of luxury: dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants, vacations in Santorini, and a grand home in the heart of the city. But the cracks in our perfect life began to show. It started with her late nights at the museum. "We're hosting an important exhibition," she explained, her tone sharp with frustration whenever I questioned her sudden increase in overtime. I wanted to trust her, so I dismissed the nagging doubts that crept into my thoughts. Then came the business trips, brief, unplanned excursions to Paris, Venice, and Zurich. Networking, she would say with a casual wave of her hand. But the trips became more frequent, and her demeanor grew colder upon her return. I convinced myself it was just the stress of her demanding career. The turning point came on a quiet Tuesday evening. Elena had left her phone on the kitchen counter while she took a shower. A message lit up the screen, the words stabbing through my fragile sense of security. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Same hotel. L." My breath caught as I stared at the message, clarity washing over me with a sickening certainty. My wife was having an affair. Confronting her then would have been satisfying, but I knew it wouldn't yield the truth. Elena was a master of deflection, her sharp mind capable of twisting even the most undeniable facts into shadows of doubt. I needed irrefutable evidence, proof that would leave no room for lies. I started small, combing through her emails and calendar whenever she wasn't home. The name L appeared repeatedly, linked to late-night meetings and gallery events. A quick search revealed his full identity: Lucas Fry, a wealthy art dealer renowned for his charm and connections. Next, I hired a private investigator to follow Lucas and Elena discreetly. Within days, the investigator provided photos that shattered any remnants of denial. There they were, seated intimately in a dimly lit restaurant, Elena's hand resting on his. Their smiles were unmistakably affectionate, too familiar. The investigator also unearthed hotel receipts matching the dates of her so-called business trips. I stared at the damning evidence, my chest tightening with rage and humiliation. The woman I had shared my life with was lying to my face, sneaking into another man's arms while I worked tirelessly to provide for her. But it wasn't just the betrayal that hurt, it was the audacity. She carried on as if nothing had changed, as if I were blind to the truth. That was when the fury began to grow, a slow-burning fire that intensified with each passing day. Anger alone wasn't enough. If I wanted justice, I needed a plan, something precise, calculated, and untraceable. I spent days studying Lucas's routines. He was a creature of habit, frequenting the same bars, restaurants, and gyms. Most damningly, he often visited Elena at our home when I was at work. The audacity of it made my blood boil. The confrontation had to be personal. A phone call or a public outburst wouldn't suffice. It was too impersonal. I wanted Lucas to feel the full weight of my anger, to understand the pain he had caused. The opportunity came on a night when Elena conveniently claimed to be working late again. I knew Lucas would arrive shortly after sunset, his sleek BMW a regular sight in our driveway. I waited in the shadows, the baseball bat concealed behind my back, my heart pounding with anticipation. As the evening darkened, I rehearsed my words. Physical pain wouldn't be enough. I wanted to strip away the confidence and charm he wore like armor, leaving him exposed and broken. The distant crunch of tires on gravel snapped me to attention. Lucas's sleek BMW glided into the driveway, its headlights slicing through the enveloping darkness. I hunkered lower behind the hedge, the cold, smooth handle of the bat firm in my grasp. My pulse quickened, adrenaline coursing through me like wildfire. As the car's engine ceased, Lucas emerged, phone pressed to his ear, his arrogant grin infuriating. His tailored suit and polished shoes gleamed under the streetlight, a glaring contrast to the primal rage surging through my veins. I stepped from the shadows, the bat raised high above my shoulder. "What the—" Lucas began, but his words choked off as the bat struck his ribs with a sickening thud. He staggered, a strangled cry erupting from his lips as his phone slipped from his grip and clattered to the ground. "You think you can waltz into my life and steal what's mine?" I growled, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. Lucas stumbled backward, hands raised in a pitiful attempt at defense, but I gave no quarter. My next swing connected with his leg, sending him sprawling to the gravel, his face contorted in agony. He writhed on the ground, clutching his side, while I stood over him, unyielding. "This is for every lie, every touch, every stolen moment," I spat, my voice icy and resolute. I delivered a final blow to his hand, the very hand he'd used to caress my wife. His piercing scream shattered the still night, reverberating off the empty street like a warning bell. When the storm of my wrath had subsided, Lucas lay broken, his self-assured veneer obliterated along with his bones. I let the bat fall from my grasp, its clatter faint against the roaring in my ears. My chest heaved as I looked down at him, my voice dropping to a cold, measured tone. "You're finished. Stay away from her. Stay away from me." I turned and strode toward the house, the rush of adrenaline ebbing, leaving a hollow chill in its wake. The night was unervingly quiet, the faint scent of lavender from the diffuser, a smell Elena insisted on, clashing with the storm of emotions brewing inside me. Inside, the living room lay still, bathed in a soft glow. Elena sat on the couch, her phone in hand, scrolling idly. She didn't glance up until I spoke, my voice sharp enough to slice through the silence. "Elena," she startled, her head snapping up, her expression flitting from confusion to something else. Fear, guilt, or perhaps irritation at the interruption. "You're home early," she said, her tone unervingly casual. I stepped closer, the weight of the confrontation bearing down on me. Without a word, I tossed the envelope of evidence onto the coffee table. The heavy thud made her flinch, her eyes darting to the package. "What's this?" she asked, her voice uncertain as her hand hovered over it. "Open it," I commanded, my voice cold and unrelenting. I said, watching her hands tremble as she cautiously lifted the envelope. Her fingers hesitated before pulling out its contents. Photographs of her and Lucas at a restaurant, receipts from their clandestine hotel rendezvous, and a printed copy of the incriminating text message that had unraveled it all. The color drained from her face as she sifted through the damning evidence, her breathing growing erratic. "Adrian, I can explain," she began, her voice faltering. Don't you dare, I interrupted, my tone sharp and unwavering. Don't even think about twisting this around. I know everything, Elena. The late nights, the trips, Lucas, every single lie. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but they only served to stoke the fury burning inside me. I didn't mean for it to happen, she stammered, her voice breaking under the weight of her guilt. It was a mistake. A mistake? I repeated, my voice heavy with disbelief. A mistake is forgetting a birthday or misplacing your keys. You didn't just accidentally stumble into another man's bed, Elena. You made a decision, a deliberate, calculated choice. Time and time again, she broke down, sobbing into her hands. I was lonely, she choked out. You've been so distant, always at work, always preoccupied. I didn't feel noticed anymore. Her words hit a nerve, but I refused to let her shift the blame. So, your solution was to annihilate our marriage? To look me in the eye every day while you betrayed me behind my back? I demanded, my voice trembling with suppressed rage. She looked up, her tear-streaked face etched with desperation. I still love you, Adrian. Please, we can fix this. We can go to counseling, start over, she pleaded. No, I said firmly, cutting through her words like a blade. You ended us the moment you chose him. There's no coming back from this. I turned and walked away, leaving her sobbing on the couch. The confrontation was over, but the aftermath had only just begun. The days that followed were a chaotic blur of emotions and decisions. I filed for divorce immediately, determined to sever every bond tying me to Elena. The process was messy, as divorces always are, but I refused to let her manipulate me into giving her more than she deserved. Word of the scandal spread rapidly. Friends who once admired our seemingly idyllic marriage were stunned. Many distanced themselves from Elena, unable to reconcile the image of the woman they knew with the person who had betrayed me so profoundly. As for Lucas, the confrontation left him battered and humiliated. His injuries sidelined him from work for weeks, and whispers of his affair with a married woman destroyed his standing in the art world. Clients abandoned him, unwilling to associate with his tarnished reputation. Elena didn't fare much better. The scandal cast a shadow over her career at the museum, making her position untenable. She resigned quietly, retreating into obscurity as her once glamorous life crumbled. She tried reaching out to me multiple times, leaving tearful voicemails and sending long, apologetic emails. But I ignored every attempt. Each word she wrote felt like a fresh wound, reopening scars that were only beginning to heal. The house we once shared, a symbol of the life we'd built together, now felt like a hollow shell. I sold it and moved to a modest apartment across the city, determined to start anew in every way possible. The first few months were the hardest. The sting of betrayal and the shadow of anger lingered, making it difficult to trust anyone, even myself. But slowly, the pain began to subside, replaced by a quiet determination to rebuild my life. Fate has a way of restoring balance, even when we least expect it. Lucas's downfall was swift and brutal, his charm and connections no longer shielding him from the consequences of his actions. Meanwhile, Elena's glamorous facade crumbled, leaving her isolated and forgotten. I took no pleasure in their suffering, but I couldn't deny the quiet satisfaction of seeing justice served. They had made their choices, and now they were living with the repercussions. I relocated to a serene coastal town, trading the chaos of the city for the soothing rhythm of the sea. My new home was small but peaceful, a haven where I could heal and rediscover who I was without Elena. I poured myself into my work, building a new clientele and earning a reputation for precision and dedication. But I also carved out time for myself, a luxury I hadn't allowed in years. Long walks along the beach, a newfound passion for photography, and volunteering at the local community center helped me reconnect with life. One evening, standing on the shore as the sun dipped below the horizon, I felt something unfamiliar. Hope. The betrayal had shattered me. Yes, but it had also liberated me. It forced me to confront the parts of myself I had neglected, enabling me to rebuild stronger and wiser than before. Sometimes, the hardest endings pave the way for the most necessary beginnings. Betrayal may break you, but it also clears the path for renewal. And when the dust settles, you realize you're far more resilient than you ever believed possible. With that thought, I turned and walked back toward my new life, leaving the shadows of my past behind.